Hi, my name is Amy. Thank you very much for watching, and let's make some bad financial decisions together. This is for entertainment purposes only, so if you're entertained, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. I wanted to start today out with going over, did I beat Roundhood Hill this week with their XCTE? Because that is now our tradition. So I went to Total Returns. I'm not sponsored. I just like them. But in the same time period, XCTE, SDTY, Round Hill beats them by a penny, but they're also both beating the underlying. I don't think that well, SDTY did not actually have a distribution this week. So, yeah, so if we look here, I actually got $52.76 2 weeks ago, which is when XCTE was around. And if you don't know, my LEAP option, I used around $9,470 for my LEAP, which means with XDTE, I would have gotten $43.91 for this week. So I did manage to beat Round Hill. And, Round Hill has both their synthetic, they have their synthetic, they have their weeklies, and they also have treasuries that they can pay us with. So either I'm not conservative enough or something's going on with XDT. And I was curious to see how SDTY held up. And I was like, oh no, I forgot, honestly, that SDTY did not have a distribution. So I added it to YieldMax, but it doesn't show up because there's no distribution. So if you're wondering about that, next week we'll have a better comparison. And so this is helping me form my opinion on, are cover called ETFs worth it? Are they trending to zero? What is the NAV erosion like? And all of that jazz. Anyways, I'll know that I don't like doing growth charts for value stocks, but there's hardly any other way to compare these. So YieldMax not beating VU or Round Hill, but on the 1-day basis, it's not 100% following VU, the underlying. Like, it had a spike that neither of these really had, but it is following it. The Round Hill one, I like the shape of it more because it kind of just flattens the volatility, but it is what it is. And I was asked tonight about how to get started with options. So there's two things. I don't know if you've ever been onto Google, not Google Finance, Yahoo Finance. And a lot of people say, start with SPY options. And over here, there's actually an options tab. And so there's the time period where you want the strike. And then there is, that would be a 0-day expiration at this point. And then you can choose a put or a call, and then you can look and see what, I think, so they have it, if it's in the money, it's blue, and if you're out of the money, it's white. So if we're selling a put on the SPY, you want it to be less than what the SPY is. And so you can see, this was the bid and this is the ask, and this is the price of the last time it was bought. And how this normally works is Robinhood tells you 1.79, and then you click into the app and you can choose your strike price. So normally for these, you just like split the difference. So like 1.8, and then hope that you get assigned. But I would just say, like, if you're basically, my suggestion is to do paper trading for a period of time before you use actual money. So if you're like, I want to do this, and you can go in and you can see they have I thought they had the beta. I always call it beta. It's actually the delta. But anyways, it's not perfect, but so you have the volume, the open interest, and the applied volatility. So like if you're paper trading, I would pay attention to the volume, because if it has like a volume of 1, you probably won't get any traction. And then I would just use the last price it was bought as your paper trade price, because you know that it actually got action on that. And the first rule for options is it has to be a stock that you're excited to own 100 shares of. That if you get assigned when you sell your puts, then like Misty, like I want to own Misty. If I get assigned my Misty shares, I'm not sad. I'm actually pretty happy about it, because Misty pays 100% dividend. So in order to find those type of stocks, Robinhood has their lists, and you can create a screener, and they have you don't necessarily want the highest implied volatility, because there's a lot of stocks that are not good that have extremely high volatility. So I would go with the most options volume. And then what I would do, because I don't have that much money, honestly, I have a pretty small account. So I would go, and I'm looking for it, but there's a price. And I would say, like, why don't we look at ones that are under $50? And so these are the stocks with the greatest options volume in my price range. And how you can read this is it's $14.85 for one stock, but you need 100 in order to do a contract. So it's actually $1,485 for one contract of SoFi. And so because this is a single stock, you then need to go and research that stock like you normally would with whatever rubric and evaluation that you'd use. Because if you wind up with 100 shares of SoFi, you do not want to be sad that you own 100 shares of SoFi. And what I also do is, since I have the options wheel, or like I have options enabled, I was going into the options, and I'm only interested in selling. Like, don't tell me about puts. And since February 14th is tomorrow, or actually, yeah, tomorrow. So if I owned 100 shares, and for the call, like I own it, and if it's higher than the price I do, then it gets sold at that price. So say like I can sell a call and get $34 or $19 or $10, depending on what I want out of this deal and how much I don't want to actually sell SoFi. But you can look here, and this delta is like almost 2 out of 10 times you'll lose and get it taken away from. And then if you sell the put, I wouldn't do it at 16 because the price is now $14.85. But on the other hand, you would also be able to get it for like $15. So I want something that when I switch between the sell call and a sell put, I can actually do a dividend wheel and not like, for example, I like my Misty, but okay, for February 21st, if I sell a put, I can get, $165 for this 26 strike price. If I go to sell a call, like, there's no money, and you can keep going out, and it's like there's still like almost no money. And it's not like once I own Misty, it's not like I'm that, like, I have to sell it again. But it's nice to have a stock if you're going to do a dividend wheel, that if you are playing hot potato and you wind up with the potatoes, in this instance the stocks, that you can then continue the game of hot potato and pass the stocks on to someone else and continue to get good premiums for doing that. So that's just how I would get started with just finding a stock, because I wasn't that interested in doing options until I found something that I could actually do options on. Because, like, I could sit here and try to explain, like, selling a put and selling a call, but, like, if you don't have anything particular in mind, then it's just very theoretical, and some of these things are just easier once you actually start to do it. It makes sense, and if you're following along to the tutorials, then it makes more sense. So for me, like, one of the things is, if you're confused about the terms, think about it. The terms are for the bankers. So when you sell a put, you're actually getting paid it's basically a layaway for the stock, saying like, okay, I'm going to sell a put, and this means that, okay, if the price of the stock is $8.70, if I was just going to go ahead and buy this and not use options, I would say, like, well, maybe $8 is a good price for it, so I'm going to do a limit order. So as soon as it goes below $8, just fill my order at $8. Selling puts is like that. I'm putting this $8 per stock on layaway, and I'm getting $60 to hold the ticket, so that I have the right to, well, I'm obligated to buy the stock at $8 if it goes below. So you're technically losing money if this stock goes below $8.70 in that time period. Like, if it goes to $6 and you have an $8 put, you still have to pay $8 per share to own it. But if I was putting a limit order in today for 100 shares, I would have put it in at $8. So is it really a loss if you really believe in MSTU? And the reason why I fell into MSTU and why I talk about it all the time is that it's $8 per contract. That's $800. My account isn't that big. One contract that is $8 is less of a percentage of my portfolio, and so I can put out more contracts and do a ladder, which is basically just different contracts at different prices. So, like, overall, I know that a lot of people do recommend using things like SPY as your first option that you practice with. However, the price of SPY has gone up so much that I'm not going to tell someone they need $60,000 to be able to start to do options. And then I personally do not want to use $60,000 on one single contract, and I'm learning. So, and there's ways to go around it, but they're more advanced strategies. At least with MSTU, I can sell a put, which means I get paid to wait and purchase something for $8, and I can turn around the next week and sell it. And as long as I'm putting it at $8 or more, like now I own it for $8, and I'm selling a call, doing a cover call, getting $70. Okay, well, if it doesn't go above $9 that week, I get to keep my shares. And if it does go above $9, then I only paid $8 and you can have it, basically. So I think just finding a stock that's cheap enough that you can do a regular dividend wheel, and something that you believe won't just go to zero, is the first step. And I think that if you use something like Yahoo Finance, you can do paper trading, which is nice. So basically, you log in every morning to your spreadsheet that you're keeping, and you tell it what strike price you would have done at what price, like it's premium, and then on the Friday of that expiration, you record whether you would have had to pay the 100 shares or if it expires worthless. And yeah, I would just do that for a period of time, like 2 or 3 months, and just make sure that you understand, for the most part, what you're doing. And then I said when I was going to do my options that I was going to start slow, not have too many out at the same time. And now look at me. I'm not able to just let a good thing go. But for the most part, I am sticking to a single ticker, MSTU. Everything else is, I was gonna say everything else is a cover call of things that I already own, but then there's this SoFi thing sticking out here. That was because my call that I had for the SoFi that was from my Leap was in danger, and I would really like to have another 100 shares of SoFi so that I can just do a regular dividend wheel on it instead of using the Leap like that. But yeah, I think for me, in general, I do have my silos that are my goals, and I really like being able to focus on basically just MSTU, and then letting the managers manage the ones that I'm not as comfortable doing my own options with, or I don't have the capital to do it myself. And once my SPY Leap is breaking even, I will probably sell it because even though I'm making more money than XDT with this money, I just feel like I keep putting my strike price pretty close to the actual price of the stock, and then the SPY is always going up a lot, or not a lot, but stepping on steps. So I always feel like I'm a little bit behind, and I'm not checking my app often enough to roll my call soon enough that it doesn't cost me a lot of money. And then the S&P 500 goes down by a lot, and I'm like, okay, well, I can roll my option down and get more money, but then it starts doing the steps again. And because it's a leap, I'm not allowed to actually have it assigned out, just like by Robinhood, my broker. So I always have to stay on top of it. And for me, at this point, that level of management, even though I'm, making more money than if it was just being managed by Roundhill, the amount of stress and management, probably not worth it. But it's probably good that leap exists and that money is tied up there, because trading with MSTU is really fun, and someday I'm going to get really hurt by it. So it's going to be sudden and inevitable, this betrayal. So hopefully this was informative. For tonight, for YieldMax, if you go into here, what I did was, if you click outside now, it'll do, you don't have to click on the X anymore. And then this is emulating if it is on a mobile app. So I think I fixed, you can now scroll down, and if you click out of it, you can get out too. And someone mentioned that on their iPhone, that when they click on their thing here, that it actually doesn't do anything. And what's happening is that Safari is silly, and I fixed it so that if you're on an iPhone and you click on this and you want to get to the source, it'll show up now. So hopefully that makes everything a little better, and just a little bit at a time. I also made an internal admin page today, just so that I could be more on top of which tickers are out of date. So I have 50 of them that I need to update, but I'll work my way through that. It's pretty tedious, and I really need to look back at the automated script and make sure I remember how to run it and get that taken care of pretty soon. So, sorry I haven't done this before now, but when I make donations, I usually do it anonymously. I don't need, me and the creator, I know, I don't know, I just feel like I like being anonymous, so I wasn't very keen on, how do I explain this? I prefer anonymity when I'm donating, and I was concerned that because I wasn't sure what information was available to me from Ko-Fi, I don't want to shout out to people that wanted to rename, not be shouted out to, because it's a very personal thing to, support people. So, but I decided to do this, and in the future, if you end up giving me kudos on Ko-Fi and you don't want to be acknowledged, then just let me know and I won't include you in whatever. But thank you all. I appreciate you, and even if I don't check my Ko-Fi page or my email very often, I really do appreciate it, and you all are the best. And yeah, and I also very organized tonight, but today in Financial Philharmonics, we have Pour That Yield on Me. Someone asked for a parody of Pour Some Sugar on Me by, I want to say his name is Leopard, but yeah, this is a parody, and It's My Money is a Celtic rock song about how everybody seems to have opinions on how I should spend my money, but unless you're gifting me money, like, I'm not interested in your opinion. And this was more like, the influence was that video I did from my dad, and just like talking to myself like, Amy, like, you need to stop telling people what to do with their money if they haven't said they need help with their money. And then, so it wasn't addressing my audience in any way. It was just like me saying like, please stop doing this to your dad. And then MRNY, Hail No. And that's just a fun little song about how bad MRNY is. It's a little indie pop rock song. And I was influenced by, I was listening to Retire on Dividends, and he's very, very against MRNY. And I was never really invested in MRNY, so I don't really have the same like gut-wrenching heartbreak that Ulti gets me, but MRNY is fun to kick while it's down. So I hope that you all are having a good night and are preparing for Valentine's Day, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.